Hi there. I'm Smita Murthy, managing partner at Open Cliff Partners. We're a product advisory and consulting firm. As a woman who's spent over 25 years in tech, product, and leadership in corporate roles, I've crossed paths with inspiring women who walk the talk, have an abundance mindset, and have helped shape my career journey. My hope is through my actions while in corporate roles and now in this chapter of my professional life that I give back and pay it forward. There's plenty of research that shows that women don't have enough women role models to look up to learn from, and to emulate. And very few women leaders who break the glass ceiling, be it in corporate, entrepreneurial, or other arenas, actually support other women in terms of being a champion, a sponsor, or advocate, and worse, see them as competition. The inspiration for this podcast series is to showcase women in tech, product, and leadership who inspire, who actually help, and are positive influences to those that have the good fortune to be in their orbits, lifting as they climb. Today, I'm beyond excited to host Jeanne Sullivan. Jeanne is a longtime venture capital investor, all things tech, based out of New York City, and manages a $400 million fund. She's an early adopter, early to a lot of things: tech, early to the internet, early to AI, and then early to the cannabis industry, something that we'll talk about more during this conversation. And she has this curiosity to learn in all these sectors. And don't for a minute think it's all easy or great. She's going to share those pearls of wisdom as we go along. Jeanne loves to share her pearls of wisdom with founders and entrepreneurs, especially around raising capital. Jeanne, I couldn't be more excited. Welcome to the show. What I will add to that introduction is I've known Jeanne now, I want to say 15 years via her nephew, who is my dear friend and ex-colleague from McAfee. So Andrew Sullivan, shout out to you, my friend. Andrew was on my other podcast, but I'm so honored you're here, Jeanne, to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Wonderful. Let's dive right into it. What has inspired and shaped your journey, and why?
When I was little, and I am the oldest of 8 kids, can you imagine that? Every day after school, my mother would sit with me at the kitchen table and say, "How was your day? What happened?" I'd say, "Well, this guy, he said this to me." She said, "What'd you say?" I told her. She said, "Well, did you think to say this or that?" So we did these psychology lessons all the time. What a wonderful backdrop. Now, I have no idea where the other 7 kids were. However, she really convinced me that I could do anything I wanted to into the future, and I believed her. That's good and bad, Smitha. You know why? You think you're, really empowered, and then you find out it's the school of hard knocks. I always tell people when they show me their fancy pedigree of universities and colleges that I went to the best school of all, the school of hard knocks. Seems like I had to learn the hard way and still learning.
Yes, yes. No, absolutely. I love that. I love the raw honesty of that
Yeah.
statement, because I've had some amazing guests on the show, and you will be a rock star. I've heard you speak. You're amazing. But a lot of people paint a very rosy picture. So I actually want to showcase women who say it the way it is.
Yeah.
And again, it could be a generational thing, but for me and perhaps for you, we had to be the only in many circumstances, as your career highlights, right? I mean, who would have thought being a VC in the cannabis industry, right?
I
Uh,
know. And listen to this to add to your good question. When I was in the 8th grade, my dad said to me, "Why don't you become a teacher?" And
Mhm.
you know what I said to him? And it's funny because I do love to teach.
Yeah,
I said, I want to carry a briefcase. Is that hilarious?
that is awesome. Awesome.
So
You
I knew business was calling me.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. So, what are some key leadership lessons you live by?
There's no doubt I have seen it all. I love saying laughingly, I've seen the smartest of the smart and the stupid of the stupidest, and sometimes they're in the same company. So I really make a study of those CEOs. I have been on 23 boards of directors, and that has given me an unbelievable bird's eye view into how to lead and how not to lead. I think my favorites are both men and women that really say, here's the mountain, follow me, not there's the mountain. They
So,
spread an esprit de corps
yeah,
that is so important. They're not selfish. They're giving of their time and energy. And I'm so impressed by that. I think the what stands out in my mind is the CEO that had a team effort every year, beginning of the year, and then periodically came up with the objectives and goals and then printed them, and they were on everybody's desk, including the front receptionist. I don't know, do we have front receptionists anymore?
everyone's virtual. Yeah, I can have a virtual assistant.
But
That could
but
be
it was important that everybody understood the road ahead and what they were doing to achieve that. And also everyone had equity, including uh, at the production level, at the secretarial level. I love that. I thought that was a really, really important. So for me, it's just real clarity of thinking and that leadership esprit de corps that they spread. I'm
yeah.
impressed by that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think just to amplify what you said, in my product advisory, board advisory work that I do now, it's amazing to me the the very innovative companies that have the hustle, that have the grit, that build amazing innovative products on the bleeding edge of technology. They get to where they are, but to get to that next milestone, right? When they need to truly scale up the products, what you said is super, super critical, which is what's that 10-year vision? What's that North Star
Yeah.
that you're inspiring your team to reach for? And how do you craft a strategy on an annual basis that helps you reach that North Star, gets you closer and closer to achieving that vision? And
You
in the days of when we had the office and you had printouts in front of everyone's desk, but even now there are so many ways in which people can be reminded of why did we start this company, what are we trying to accomplish, and where we are on that journey, almost like a mall map to say this is where we're going. And that cannot be emphasized enough,
I
especially.
love what you're saying because I'm advising companies now. And you know what? They don't have the North Star or that plan or go to market strategy even in place,
Yeah,
but yet they want to raise capital. And so I am actually shocked to see that more often than not. So back to your leadership question, yeah, I think those strong leaders know how to create that
yeah,
with the team, get buy-in. I watch for that, and I think that's interesting. But I'm dealing with a very successful, formerly successful entrepreneur. He and his family office have built something amazing. And now I said, what's your go to market? He could not answer that. So maybe it comes down to why do they need us? We can help forge that too.
yeah.
So I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you and I both know a company where they recommend these entrepreneurs to start an advisory board early in their journey, because the advisory board or an independent board director, they have no agenda. An executive director has an agenda. An investor has an agenda. As you know, you're an investor and an advisor. You know both sides of this. But an independent board director or an advisory board, there is no agenda, and they truly are there to take their years of experience to help these companies grow.
I insist upon that. I really preach that myself, even in the earliest days where it's just a team and a dream. Pull in smart people. And now you can do that virtually all over the world. You need somebody who, let's say it's a manufacturing product, pull in the smartest person that you know or would like to know and ask them and have organized meetings. Because one thing that especially inexperienced CEOs don't realize, those are the first references. If I bring an investor to the table, that's who they're going to call, your advisors, and say, is he or she smart? Do they know what they're doing? Is she organized? Have you invested? Would you invest? And so that really is an important component.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to pivot to kind of like what I think of as the most important discussion point for this conversation, which is, what are all the ways you leverage your success to help other women in their careers?
Well, first of all, let me underscore help other women. I feel so dedicated to that. Why is that? You know why? The men don't really need our help. We need their help.
Yeah.
We'd like them to invest, to promote us, to support us, to be advocates for us if it's in a company. That's important. But you know, from early on, guys call up their buddy and say, I'm building a new business. I need $100,000. And guess what his buddy says? Okay, where do I send it?
Mm-hmm.
And women just traditionally do not act that way. And that's okay. Now they need to learn how to network to get the capital needed. So I really care about demystifying and taking the fear out of that capital raising. That's my lane. I love doing that and showcasing what that's all about and how to accomplish it. And so I think women need the help. They appreciate the help. And isn't that what it's all about? I think Madeleine Albright preached that.
Yeah.
And
Special
important.
place in hell. Yep.
Yeah, and so that's always been my thing. I have always been dedicated to that. I've been for many, many years on the board of ASTIA, which really focuses on funding women-founded businesses. I've cared about so many groups that do this and have participated that way, and just trying to make it happen for them. It's thrilling. And the research shows that if there are more and more women investors, we have a chance to get more dollars into women-founded companies. And so I really work to support the groups that teach women how to be angel investors or VCs,
Yep.
as well as really believe in that. That's one of the secrets for success here.
Absolutely. I just recently did a post on LinkedIn, and it was a little bit of a little chuckle for me when I did a hashtag of "get it done off the golf course." It was a walking meeting. One of my guests actually talked about walking meetings. I'm like, that's very clever. I can actually get my steps in, get business done. And this one happened to be in person. So we walked and we had trusted advice. It was a trusted advisory relationship. And I just did a hashtag. That's my new hashtag that said "get it done off the golf
Love
course."
it.
So awesome. All right. When women, as you were saying, also struggle to ask for that $100,000, right? Or to say, I have this bold vision for myself. And as much as people think of me personally as a confident person who's not shy, to articulate the vision I have, for example, for the second mountain that I'm climbing, to say it out loud took me some time because I was almost afraid someone would laugh at me if I said it. So, I think it's important for women to understand it's okay to ask for help. And if you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it. So, what are all the ways people have helped you? What are the best ways they've helped you when you reached out for help? What are what are the ways that work? What's the best way people can approach you? Just thoughts around that.
So many people have flipped open the door for me, and I'm sure that drives me to continue to do that for others. Yeah, I have certainly learned that lesson that you just spoke of. I think it's important to ask people for help. I'm still doing it. It's important. And for example, I've really never been fully on my own, being part of several funds. That wasn't truly on my own. I had partners to answer to. I had limited partners to answer to, and portfolio companies to answer to and take care of and report on. So I've always had like a big role on a day-to-day basis. Now I am on my own. Well, I need help. So I'll go to people and say, hey, just like today, how fun it is to do this podcast, which I so enjoy. Going to people who can open some doors for me, because that is what happened. My big break came like this. I was at Bell Laboratories, which was really quite thrilling to be there. That's where I really was first introduced. This is talking the 80s, into those first machine learning, which were the early days of AI. We built a high-end parallel processor and all the software to go along with it for image processing, and something called ray tracing, real-time ray tracing, which were some of the first days of animation. And that was thrilling. I got to meet Steve Jobs and some of the great
Wow.
animators at
Mhm.
SIGGRAPH. I was going to the early SIGGRAPHs. And the person I worked with morning, noon, and night had a real in. His dad was a head vice president at Olivetti, big European company at the time in the 80s. And they were one of the few European companies that understood that investing in US tech companies was a great idea, because they could have a win for the portfolio, a win for their product line if it fit. And so we really invested off balance sheet, sitting in New York City. And guess what? In the 80s, there were no tech companies in New York City. Alan Patrikoff was the only investor, and he was doing all sorts of things, but there were no tech, a real robust tech world like there is today. And so guess what? I was always in Silicon Valley and in Boston, and we invested with the smartest VCs that are in this world. And that was thrilling. And he opened that door for me. And so I became a venture capital investor back in the late 80s, 1990. How thrilling. I never
Wonderful.
even noticed I was the only woman at the board table, but that is what happened, and met some of the greats. And that's how I learned the business. So those people opened doors for me. And so that's been a constant for me. Very observant of that and love the give back.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And what a gift, right? It almost like someone saw the potential, right? We talk about this all the time. Research has shown um, men, for example, get jobs or promotions based on their potential. Women have to prove that they can do the job before they get it. But in this particular example that you talked about, someone saw the potential. You were, if I'm not mistaken, a product manager when you were at Bell Labs, right?
That's right.
So there we go. Jeanne and I have that in common. We have our product roots in common. So she was a product manager, but someone saw the potential for her to get into this investor world and open that door. And that,
Listen,
my friends, is what is needed.
well, listen, my secret of success, I just work like a dog. I just over prepare no matter what, and I think people appreciate that. But also the culture has to be right too. And so I've been really fortunate to be in great cultures. That's another pearl of wisdom. If that's not there for you and it's toxic in any way, I say get out. You cannot change people. And so I really tell my friends and people who are, let's say, colleagues or that even work for me, it's
Yeah,
so important to seek that.
absolutely. So I want to kind of go back to some of the introductory statements I made about you, where you've been an early adopter
Yes,
in a lot of industries. You've had the
yes,
good fortune of being there when the internet was like
yes,
just taking off, the days of AI. And I really want to emphasize to people, AI is the new shiny thing, but it's been there forever.
yes,
You, my listeners, you heard Jeanne talk about it was there in the 80s.
yes,
When I was in college in the 90s, that was, we learned natural language processing, machine learning, image, computer vision. All of those things were there. Those are the early formative blocks of what we're calling AI and ML today. It's just, it came to vogue now. That's what it is. So having been like the early adopter of what are perhaps our lifetime's greatest technology breakthroughs, um, tell our audience what that's been like, and how you spotted it, how you took a bet on some of those technologies. And then I definitely want to talk about cannabis.
so I am a risk taker. I realize that after I got to doing these things, I have always liked and been an early adopter. So from the earliest days, I would find my way to some technology. For example, when I was in a big corporate world and the secretaries went home at night, I we had a Wang computer that did the first word processing. I would go on the Wang and teach myself how to use it. I was fascinated with it. And so every time there's a new technology, I'm drawn to find it, buy it, use it. I love that. And that still remains today. So I'm a real tech lover and proud of that. And then I realized when I look back at my professional life that I sure enough had gotten involved in all those early tech worlds. I love that. Now, that meant that I was an investor now because we formed a fund of our own after my Olivetti days. Four of us, three women general partners, of which I was one. And we had our one trophy male, and he was fabulous. And we formed a fund and raised $400 million. That was thrilling, and that was in the year 99 and 2000. Uh, and so that meant that was right in the internet era. So there was the boom and the bust. So
Mhm.
just to share, companies would come to us and they would say, we've got this company, here it is, here are the plans. And we'd say, what's the valuation? This is pre-revenue, of course. Well, $100 million. And you know what we did? We laughed. We didn't take our wallet out. And so for quite a long time, we marshaled our resources and did not invest whereas many of our colleagues were throwing money at these
Mhm.
companies, and those funds then, went away. So we were clever and smart during that era. But it was so exciting to learn what was going on with all of that. And then that took us into the data aggregation world and e-commerce.
Mhm.
Thrilling to learn that. The early days of buying things online. That is so exciting. But
Yes.
then what happened was I finally left my fund in 2014. It was a plan. I had been part of that team that I founded for 18 years. That's a pretty good track record, don't you think?
That's amazing. Yep.
And that's when New York passed the Compassionate Care Act, bringing medical cannabis to New York State, where I live. And so John, my husband, said, I'm doing this. I said, I know nothing about it. And so I started to go to the great big conferences. That
Mhm.
conference just happened last week in Las Vegas. So I was in Vegas the whole week, and it was thrilling. This was my 11th year going to that conference, and I've spoken at most of them. And this time, guess what I got to speak on? AI and cannabis. Is
Wow.
that thrilling? So I
That's
got
awesome.
to tie the two together.
Yeah.
Really thrilling. And as long as I am on the subject, let me just say that I shared with the audience that to do my research for this, I found the most wonderful early story. The gentleman, maybe you know of him, Demis Hassabis. He
Mm.
actually won the Nobel Prize last year for chemistry. He
Mm. Yes.
invented the early days of that deep technologies that Google bought for 400 million. And this is back in 2014, he invented this. So
Wow.
not recent.
Right.
And it's called The Thinking Game. And it's on Amazon, and it shows the story of how he used game theory to create an AI platform. So very exciting. And so I loved sharing that with a cannabis audience. I started to learn the business starting back in 2014, and I founded a fund within one of the biggest names in the business. And that big name, we put on 5 or 6 big events for many years until COVID, in person events. And so I got to meet the great thought leaders and operators in our business. And our community put $350 million in just about every company you can imagine, including many women founded companies.
That's
And so it has been thrilling to be part of that real run up, but very hard the last few years because of a real lack of capital. People have lost a lot of money. And
yeah.
then, as you know, neither Congress nor the feds have really done that much to really help smooth the way, like banking and all sorts of other regulations have been in place. So it's been a crazy ride. But I will tell you something new. Now Europe is adopting medical cannabis, and Germany is leading the way, and they've declared it federally legal for medical. And UK is bringing in products, Switzerland, uh, the other European companies. So it's pretty exciting right now across the pond.
That's very cool. So I don't know as much as you do about the cannabis industry. So when you talk about products, are you talking about um, actual medications that are used in different therapies? Is that what you're investing in?
So it's a fair question, but I wish it were more sophisticated in the answer. Today, we have certainly uh, a wide range of flower for smokable products, and that's what Germany has today. But the UK is bringing in everything from a wide variety of vape products,
Mm.
flour, uh, some gummies, but there's some issues related to that. And guess what? In the UK, the doctor gives you a prescription and the pharmacy mails the product to your house. So
Mm.
these are familiar products that we have here in the US, not as diverse yet. And in Germany, it's just mostly smokable products and a few vape products. But that's changing as these various pilot projects get underway. In the Netherlands, for the first time, they've actually done a regulation to bring legal cannabis to bear. Today, it's just don't ask, don't tell until now. And they've
Yeah,
licensed 10 companies to sell to 80 of the coffee shops. And so each country is coming up with their own brand of regulations.
I
And
see.
so, yes, there is also some drug development going on that's going to be able to serve some real health problems,
Yeah.
but it's early days for those.
Interesting. I did not know that it wasn't until recently that it was not
Yeah,
federally legal in the Netherlands,
I
because we
know.
all have heard about the coffee shops in Amsterdam.
Everyone thinks that, but it's not. It's always been don't ask, don't tell. And now
Interesting.
those products are being tested and high quality because the European companies do expect and demand the highest quality. It's called EU GMP quality. So fully tested and safe products.
Very interesting. And are the standards or the regulations comparable to what we have here in the US? Because I know we all voted. There's a lot of stores now that you can, like pharmacies, you can walk up to and buy. Um, is it the same standard? It's still recreational, I think, at the pharmacies
In
at this point.
Well, in the EU and UK and European countries, I'm careful when I say that because Switzerland is not even in the EU. I've had to learn all these things.
Mm,
Uh, it's medical today with some pilot projects for adult use, we like to call it,
got it.
not recreational.
I see.
Okay. In the US, the pharmacy world wants to play, but
Mm,
they're not playing yet.
mhm.
And the alcohol industry wants to play, but they're not quite playing yet. But they're looking, they have their binoculars on because now in the US, they have these delicious hemp derived drinks that have come about.
Yes,
Only
yes.
5 and 10 milligram in California, the milligram in formulation is much higher, but here mostly on the East Coast in most states, usually 5 or 10 milligrams. Now, that's another whole subject because there's a new hemp ban that has a year to get sorted out, and that got slipped into the government reopening. So that's created a whole new set of ordeal to deal with. So we'll see what happens there.
Oh my God. You're just the coolest person I've
You
met.
know, thank you for that. You know what it is? I just love learning this stuff and I like sharing it. And it's
We need to
fascinating.
meet in person again, and you need to tell me more about this. Do you get
It's just
samples?
it's just fascinating. And yes, I have all kinds of samples for you. And we're finally 500 retail stores are finally open in New York, and we've had to fight a very large illicit market here because they're just hiving off the business from the licensed regulators. Many women own these stores now, not enough, but plenty. I love helping them figure out how to open their store once they get a license or to get a license. So I've done that. So that's been thrilling. But we're so happy that New York's finally coming into fruition for this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That was just like fascinating. Every time I listen to you, be it in other conferences or on this in this conversation, I learned something new and it's fascinating and you're just like uber cool. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for sharing that. All
Thank
right.
you.
Please share your favorite life lesson quote and how that has been relevant to you in your life.
So my mom, who is so precious and no longer with us, said this to me all the time growing up. Hey, Jeanne, you keep getting the lessons until you learn them.
Wow.
That sticks
Wow.
with me. Think about it. You're
Yes.
having a hard time with money. Well, guess what? You figure that out, that problem goes away. You're having a hard time with the person. Well, you work it out, that goes away. You just, think of all the number of issues. And so I love thinking about that there is hope no matter what. You can fix it, find solutions, and have a better day.
No.
And let me just close too by thanking you for this opportunity. And one thing I like to do is to give an offer. So if people want to come to me, I would love to talk to them. And I will, at no charge, take a look at your deck or your exec summary and give you an hour of my time to talk about what your
Wow.
business is and are you raising a financing, and take the fear out of that. So feel free to
Yes.
find me, and I'm happy for that.
Amazing. And when I post this recording, I'll be sure to make it part of the offering. And there are tons of people who will benefit from your experience and your knowledge. So yes, thank you. Thank you. That's very generous of you. Last but not the least, any book recommendations that you love? Any books that you love that have left an impact on you?
Well, let's see. It all depends what you need. For instance, in the feel better category, I'm a Brene Brown fan. I love her.
Yeah.
And she wrote a book about a year and a half ago called Atlas of the Heart. And you don't read that book, it sits on your nightstand, and she's got a wonderful index. When you're feeling lousy, when you have regret, when you need to be uplifted. So, various categories.
I
So, I
love it.
use it like a reference book to pick and choose. Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
And then on the finance and business side, there is so much information out there, so much that when somebody, let's say back to raising capital, talks about warrants or valuation issues, it's so easy just to go look up anything and find that information. And of course, using AI helps you so much.
Yes.
It is so fabulous for getting quick answers. I happen to be a Perplexity fan, but there's all kinds of platforms to use. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jeanne. You're always a delight to hear, and you share so generously. My audience, I hope you not only took away those pearls of wisdom, but also recognize the generosity with which Jeanne has offered her time. If you're an entrepreneur looking to raise, please take her up on that time that she has offered, and you will not regret it. So,
thank you so
Jeanne,
much.
thank you so much. I loved having you on the podcast. Appreciate you giving me your time. And I know I'm going to see you very soon in New York City.
Thank you.